The movie kicks off in a philosophy class at the University of New Orleans, where Professor Gary Johnson is seen quoting Nietzsche, specifically a passage on living dangerously. He poses a question to the students, and one of them, Sylvia, chimes in, saying it means life is short and you've got to live passionately and step out of your comfort zones. Gary agrees, clearly resonating with the idea. But his students aren't buying it, as Gary himself drives a Honda Civic. To them, Gary is just another ordinary guy stuck in routine. Or so they think. Because beneath his mild-mannered professor exterior, Gary hides a secret. He's a part-time undercover agent working with the police department. Though he isn't a fighter, he's got something far more valuable, a brilliant mind for technology. Using his skills in electronics and surveillance, he helps the police gather evidence, especially in murder-for-hire cases. Things take an unexpected turn for Gary as one day, Jasper, the usual guy who acts as the hired murderer, gets suspended for assaulting teenagers. So Gary has to replace him. Gary is scared like hell. A nervous Gary tries to talk his way out of it to no success. His team says they've got his back. He talks to Jasper, who is irked by his suspension. He looks at Gary with a sense of shame that he is his replacement. Gary asks Jasper for advice on how to play the hired thug. Jasper tells him that the hirers need to believe him and he needs to show constant aggression until they give themselves up while recording the conversation. A nervous Gary is on his way to meet the hirer, Craig. Under his alias, Billy, Gary enters the cafe where Craig is waiting for him. Gary acts tough as he talks to Craig. He starts off well, but Craig starts to get some doubts. However, Gary's perfect description of how he usually disposes of a body after murder convinces Craig, and Gary's team gets all the evidence they want. The police arrest Craig immediately outside the cafe, and Gary has got his first ever victim in his new role at the department. Gary's team says he is a natural at this. Gary says it feels good to have saved a life. His team is still impressed by his antics at the cafe. Jasper is out for 120 days as Gary replaces him as the fake hired hitman. What interests him most in his new job is the mystery of human consciousness and behavior. He studies the behavior of his victims very closely. Each time, he dresses up differently to become the perfect hitman of their fantasy, so as to make them believe even more that he is the real deal and get them to confess, going to great lengths to make his part look tailor-made for each victim. Even teenagers hiring for murder were not able to escape from him. They all fall for his perfectly studied disguise, and he is on a roll here while Jasper, suspended, is on vacation. Meanwhile, he carries on with his professor job at the college. Later, Gary meets up with his ex-wife, who brings up research suggesting that personality traits like openness and emotional stability can shift over time. What starts as a casual chat about psychology turns personal when she jokes that Gary never seemed interested in change. She's surprised to learn about his new role with the police. Before they part, she tells him he should find a woman who's just as messed up as he is. Jasper completes his suspension and returns to the force, but is sidelined as Gary has been excelling in the role. Things are going well for Gary until an unexpected turn. His latest target is Madison, a woman deeply unhappy in her marriage, looking to hire a hitman to kill her husband. Gary meets Madison at a restaurant, adopting a confident, charismatic persona under the alias Ron. Madison expresses her distress, calling her husband Ray a bad person, saying things keep getting worse for her. They talk for a while and quickly develop a strong chemistry. Gary finds himself both sympathetic and drawn to her. Ultimately, he refuses the money and urges her not to go home, suggesting she use it to restart her life somewhere else instead. He tells her to call him if she needs anything. On his way back, Gary receives a call from his co-workers who are disappointed with how he handled the situation. Jasper tells him what he did was completely unprofessional. The scene then shifts to a court hearing where Gary's first target, Craig, is trying to secure bail. Craig's lawyer calls Gary dishonest, manipulative, and fraudulent, accusing him of preying on the weak. Gary is used to hearing this, though it still stings. Most defendants, Gary's victims, end up in prison, though some are granted bail. Gary continues his work, catching more people trying to hire him in. One night, Madison texts him, inviting him to a charity event. He decides to go as Ron. Meeting Madison, he sees she has her own place now and is going through a divorce. She seems genuinely happy with her new life and admits she couldn't have done it without his help. That night, they go out together. Madison remarks that Ron cuddles puppies, plays with kids. He can't possibly be a hitman. She presses him about his job. He explains that outwardly, he's a people person, but in his hitman occupation, he tries to make it appear as if he doesn't exist. They go back to Madison's place, where they make out and sleep together. Later, Madison admits she's having a great time with Ron. He tells her that because of his profession, maintaining a normal relationship is difficult. When Madison asks if he wants to see her again, he says yes, but sets boundaries. He explains she can never come to his place or ask questions about what he does outside their time together. Madison agrees. Days go by. Gary spends his nights as Ron with Madison, while during the daytime he continues his work as a professor at the university. As usual, he also works undercover with the police department, catching more people looking to hire hitmen for murder. Later, he gets summoned to court again and grows frustrated with defense lawyers questioning his morality. One day, Madison asks Ron more about his profession. Back at her place, Ron learns that she keeps a gun for protection. To maintain his hitman persona, he shows her how to use it, instructing her to aim for the heart. One night, they go clubbing together and have a great time. But outside the club, they run into Madison's husband, Ray, who she had claimed was already out of the picture. When Ray confronts them, Ron tells him that he's Madison's boyfriend. An angry Ray tries to start a fight, but Ron pulls a gun on him, forcing Ray to walk away. On their way back, Madison tells Ron that no one has ever stood up for her like that before. They stop at a cafe to eat, where she apologizes for the encounter with Ray and says she should have picked another club. Jasper, who happens to be in the same cafe, sees Gary with Madison. He recognizes Madison but chooses not to blow Gary's cover and walks off. The next day, Gary is sent on another job. His team doesn't have much information on this new client, Mike, who wants to hire a hitman. When Gary arrives, he realizes Mike is actually Ray. Sitting behind Ray, he orders him not to turn around. Ray explains that he wants his wife killed. He can't stand her being with someone else. Gary also learns that Madison and Ray are not divorced yet. Worse, Ray wants Madison's boyfriend Ron taken care of too, unaware that Ron is Gary himself. Ray confesses that he would have killed Madison himself, but the ongoing divorce would make him the first suspect. At that moment, Gary reveals his identity, shocking Ray. Confused, Ray runs off, yelling that he will handle it himself. Gary rushes to warn Madison. Meanwhile, Jasper begins to suspect that Gary is secretly involved with Madison. He puts the pieces together. Gary is the boyfriend, which is why Ray fled the meeting. That night, Ron urges Madison to move to a new place, fearing Ray might try to kill her. But Madison insists that Ray won't go through with it and doesn't seem worried. Later, during class, Gary starts to behave more like Ron in real life, and his students notice the shift. They find this new version of Gary far more engaging. Gary is later called into work and learns that Madison's husband, Ray, has been murdered, shot in the heart with bullets matching a gun like Madison's. His coworkers assume it was a drug deal gone wrong. They are also aware that Madison's new boyfriend had pulled a gun on Ray at the club recently, though they don't know it was actually Gary as Ron. Jasper suggests the new boyfriend might be involved. Later, Jasper confronts Gary, saying he knows he is the new boyfriend. Gary denies it, claiming he only ran into Madison once at the cafe, the same night Jasper saw them together. Jasper remains deeply suspicious. Ron heads to Madison's place and asks her about Ray's murder. She hesitates before finally confessing. She killed Ray after Ron had warned her that Ray might try to kill her. Shocked, Ron asks if it was in self-defense, but Madison admits Ray was asleep when she shot him. Stunned, Ron reveals his true identity. He is not a hitman, but an undercover cop working with the police. He also reveals his real name to her. Just then, Gary gets a call from work. He tells Madison he'll return soon, but she is furious and tells him not to come back. Gary returns to the police, where he learns that Madison is now the prime suspect. Evidence is building against her. Ray had increased his life insurance policy by $1 million just 6 months before his death. Gary tells his team he ran into Madison once before and that Jasper was there that night. He emphasizes how happy Madison seemed after leaving Ray. Jasper, still suspicious and jealous that Gary took his job, suggests they get a confession from Madison immediately by having Gary pose as Ron one last time. The boss agrees, thinking it's a solid plan. As they drive to Madison's place, Jasper stays close to Gary, ensuring he has no chance to warn Madison or give her time to manipulate her alibi. They pull up near her home and Gary is wired with an audio recorder. Since the visit is unannounced, there will be no video, only audio. On his way to Madison's apartment, Gary is seen typing on his phone. As she opens the door, he immediately shows her what he wrote, a warning not to say anything else. Gary pretends to interrogate her while secretly guiding her responses through his phone. Following his lead, Madison denies killing Ray. She falsely implies that she was at a club with another man when she fought with Ray, distancing Gary from the boyfriend role. Madison also claims Ray was a drug addict and was likely killed as a result of that lifestyle. She says she had no knowledge of his life insurance policy, pointing out that his wealthy family is known for handling affairs like this. Their careful performance convinces the police that she is innocent. Later that night, Gary carefully drives to Madison's apartment, ensuring he isn't being followed. Upon arrival, he is caught off guard. Jasper is already there, waiting. Jasper now knows everything. He casually suggests they have a beer. As Madison goes to grab it, Jasper drops his real motive, blackmail. He demands that they hand over Madison's inheritance from Ray's life insurance policy, or he will send them both to prison for Ray's murder. Gary loses his temper, but Madison calms him, urging him to listen instead of reacting. Gary remains confused. Jasper rants on, insisting he has enough evidence to put them away for life. But suddenly, Jasper begins to feel strange. He struggles to finish his sentences before collapsing onto the floor. Madison, panicked, admits she spiked his drink. Uncertain of what to do, she looks to Gary for help. He grabs a plastic bag and wraps it over Jasper's head, cutting off his air supply. Madison is horrified, but Gary justifies the act, saying even the police dislike Jasper and the department would be better off without him. Together, they plan to stage Jasper's death as a suicide since he already had drugs in his system. The setup seems plausible. With Jasper's wife leaving him a long time ago, there's no one to dispute the story. As the situation settles, Gary admits that Madison is taking a huge leap with him but confesses that he loves her. Madison, shaken yet committed, tells him she feels the same. Eventually, Jasper runs out of air. The scene shifts. Years have passed. Gary is seen conducting the final exam in psychology. He is married to Madison, and together they have 2 children. During a conversation at home, their daughter innocently asks where they met. Madison smiles and tells her that Gary is the nicest guy she ever met. Gary chuckles, saying that for him it was love at first sight when he saw Madison. He tells their daughter that they first met at a magical place called Please You Cafe. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe and leave a like and consider watching this next video on the screen.